Welcome to my channel again. My name is Kat, and today I have a presentation about this lovely Czechoslovakian Art Deco brooch. So you probably already know something about Art Deco era, but it was definitely an explosion of costume jewelry. I think up till to that point, jewelry wasn't really that affordable to a common people. So Art Deco period is very important when it comes to costume jewelry, because this was the time when a lot of people started to purchase these pieces, so they were more affordable. This particular brooch is more from early 30s, I presume, and it comes from Czechoslovakia. Sometimes we refer to Czechoslovakia as Bohemia, but if it wasn't for the political reason that restrict Czechoslovakia to use the name Bohemia, they would definitely use it, but there are some problems with historical political issues with the name Bohemia. However, Czechoslovakia is very well known for producing costume jewelry, and I am myself from Czechoslovakia. I was born during the communist era, so this is definitely something that interests me a lot. There were lots of manufacturing factories before the World War II, and let's just speak a little bit about this beautiful brooch. It's highly ornamented, and that's quite typical for the Art Nouveau era. And even though this was produced during the Art Deco era, we can still see a lot of elements that have been adopted from the Art Nouveau era. So the brooch is highly ornamented, and amongst these little teeny tiny ornaments, we can see Le Fleur de Lis. It's a French ornament. It's a kind of very well-known ornament in France. You probably know much more about this than I do. And it's got white, blue and black enamel on it. It might suggest that this was produced in Czechoslovakia and was an intent to export this piece of jewelry to France. It's got a little panel on the back that says made in Czechoslovakia, which I absolutely love, because many of these filigree type of pieces, they do not have that label on, or that kind of description on, where the piece of jewelry was made, which is a shame, because that means that a lot of pieces are then kind of misplaced. They are not given the right place of origin, which I think it's a shame. But as we can see, we know that this definitely came from Czechoslovakia. Another ornament that we can see here is these little flower panels, and then we've got this rope style setting or surrounding the stones. And when I talk about stones, this is a very interesting topic. So we've got this central stone that is carved. We've got a flower in the middle, so we already see the little panels, flower panels, here on the metal ornament, but we can also find the flower in the central of this bead, and we've got this kind of web, spider web like etching as well on the stone. Lots of these carved stones were very popular, and amongst those jewelry makers that are very famous for using these type of stones were Nager brothers, and you are probably very familiar with their work. So they've created lots of ethnic culture inspired jewelry. Mainly, I think that amongst those that are very famous, from that work, are Egyptian inspired piece of jewelry, which obviously I will definitely show you in the future, and we will definitely talk a little bit more about the Nager brothers' history. And the shame is that at the end of the 30s, during at the beginning of the Second World War, Nager brothers, because they were of Jewish descent, they were sent to Auschwitz. They were sent to concentration camp, and so they had to stop their production. And many of these factories, producing these beautiful pieces of jewelry, were closed during the Second World War, which only shows you how the world wars are absolutely destructive, and they destroy the beauty, the original idea, going back to the Art Nouveau era that this brooch was inspired by. It's a shame, because it was whenever we have flowers to kind of explain the era, we are talking about the high awareness, of peace and living in balance with the nature and everything. I love that. So let's talk a little bit about these beautiful glass stones, that Czechoslovakia is so famous for. We've got this little flat-backed orange kind of sapphire imitation bead. I hope you can see it. And it's a really beautiful thing, because it reflects the color. But if you can see it, I hope you can see it. We have the setting, the claws. They're so tiny, which absolutely shows that it wasn't, it's not the manufacturing that the mass-produced jewelry that we know today. You can definitely see that these were, the human hands. They're sometimes not so perfect. They've got imperfections in them, and you can absolutely see people sitting, by their tables in the factory and putting the stone in the setting. So the orange glass was inspired by orange sapphire, because the glass beads were always inspired by the real stones. The blue one is inspired by turquoise, that was mainly found in America and was used by Native Americans. But we also have this imitation of yellow moonstone, which is definitely a stone that comes from India. So we have a mixture of inspiration that comes from different ethnic kind of backgrounds, cultures, and that was, I think, very. It was very in, at the time. And the metal, it's a very lightweight gold tone metal, and I think that this is brass. The brass was gilded. I don't think that by real gold, but some kind of gilding material, which obviously I have to definitely learn a little bit more about to tell you about it. Why do I think this is kind of more 30s and 20s? It's because of this hinged clasp, which I was already talking about in my previous videos, because I do not think that the hinged clasp fastenings were very typical for the 20s. When you look at the brooch as a whole, you can see the the influence of Orient, something that was called Orientalism. So Orientalism was mainly popular during the 20s and probably the beginning of 30s, because it was inspired by Egypt, by India, China, and they were, lots of these pieces of jewelry were imitations of the real pieces of gold, very very expensive metals, gold and silver, with real stones like sapphires, diamonds, rubies, that were produced in India, for example, China, for the royals. And these pieces of jewelry would be basically imitations of those, and they would be very popularized in Paris, because in Paris there was a law that common people couldn't wear the real stones and expensive metals. So they were the ones who were interested in this kind of jewelry. Okay, so I think that's probably all that I wanted to tell you about this brooch, or Czechoslovakian glass and costume jewelry today. And I really hope that you've enjoyed this this video. I just wanted to mention quickly, I think there is a little part missing here. There was probably a little pendant here, but that's that's a bonus kind of information, that these pieces are never in completely perfect condition, and that is good because we can see that someone was wearing them. Anyhow, I wish you have a lovely rest of the week, and I will definitely come back to you next week with another piece of jewelry, another presentation, so you can learn a little bit more about the jewelry. If you know something about pieces like this that you would like to share with me and other people watching these videos, you can leave the information in a comment underneath this video. Or you can leave a comment underneath this video if you are interested in purchasing or knowing a little bit more about this piece of jewelry, because I will let you know when and where, in which of my online shops this piece of jewelry will be listed very soon. So that's all for today, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.